Good evening, dear students. Welcome you to these live virtual classes organized by the Board of Studies ICAI for Final Paper 4, Direct Tax Laws and International Taxation. These classes are for the students who are going to appear for in the May 25 examination. I am CA Aparna Chauhan. Today with us, the faculty CA Ridhima Bhatia. Welcome, Ridhima Bhatia.
Hello, ma'am. Very good evening and very good evening to all of you.
Yeah. So for the today's session, the topic is chapter 1, basic concepts. Ridhima Bhatia is going to take you through this basic concept chapter. But beforehand, as a BOS faculty, I would like to discuss certain queries, general queries, which are there in the mind of the students. See, these classes are for the students who are going to appear for the May 25 examination. This is a direct tax laws paper and international taxation paper, which keep ongoing changes, undergoes change every year with the passing of the Annual Finance Act. So the Annual Finance Act is something which is very relevant and essential thing for the direct tax papers, because it keeps on changing every year. The amendments keeps coming and it changes the Income Tax Act, certain amendments being taken place in the Income Tax Act. So for the May 25 examination, with the relevant finance act is I'm not able to move. The relevant finance act for May 25 examination is Finance Number 2 Act 2024. Right? Why it's Finance Number 2 Act? Because due to the election year, this was the election year 2024, earlier the interim budget has come. And in the second time, after formation of the government comes out with the Finance Number 2 Act 2024, right? So according to the relevant finance act, that is Finance Number 2 Act 2024, the relevant assessment year for May 25 examination is AY 25-26. AY 25-26. The relevant assessment year is AY 25-26. So this is very important for the students who are going to appear for the May 25 examination. And the relevant, if the finance assessment year 25-26 is relevant, it means the relevant previous year would be previous year 24-25, right? So those students who have appeared or who are going to appear in the November 24 examination, their assessment year was AY 24-25. But for the students who are going to appear for the May 25 examination, the relevant assessment year is AY 25-26. There are many amendments are there being made in the Income Tax Act with the passing of the Annual Finance Act. Specifically, it's the top of the discussion for these amendments for the made by the Finance Number 2 X is regards to the capital gains. They have changes been bought in the capital gains, specifically in relation to the so many things which are there for a long period of time. They have removed the indexation concept, certain amendments being taken care. So since many people are affected with the amendments which are being made in the capital gains, it become the talk of the town, right, Ridhima? So a lot of
Yes,
discussions was
definitely.
there on the capital gains or all those things. There are certain other amendments or although assessment procedures amendments new, and again they are coming out with the block assessments things. TDS may they have reduced the TDS rates, giving in mind lower TDS rates. There are certain other amendments. Firms ke case mein there are certain amendments, right? Under the default tax regime, they had, because the government want to promote the default tax regime. The government wants key people come for and opting for the default tax regime. They do not want to promote the deductions and investments, all those things now. So they feel ki now you come and pay the tax at the flat rates, basically, without claiming
Right.
any kind of deductions and exemptions and all those things. So for promoting those things, so they have made certain amendments in the default tax regimes. So all these things you will be discussing. There would not be a separate discussion or separate session for discussing the amendments basically at this time, this batch may, because we are here going to the classes will be there for each chapter actually as per your syllabus. So today is the topic is basic concepts. In the basic concepts, if you see, there are many amendments relating to basically default tax regime basically in that thing, right? Then according to your relevant assessment year and all those things, you have to read the content of the Income Tax Act. So at presently, there are many queries being raised by the students which study material they should prefer. because this time the budget has all the finance bill was presented on 23rd of July only, right? And then it become the act after passing into the this get the assent of the president in the month of, I think, August or something. So due to this reason, this time study material got delayed. But for the sake of the students, for them not to stop their studies and all, what we are doing, we are uploading the chapters by making the amendments, by doing the updates in the chapters and uploading the chapter on our institute portal. So meanwhile, you are not getting the study material in the hard copy. What you can do, you can refer the chapters which are applicable, because chapter by chapter we are web hosting on the institute portal. So please refer those chapters to continue your studies along with the LVC classes. These classes are really going to help you a lot, because chapter wise we are going to discuss. So along with the whatever who will be the faculty, she is going to explain, or she or he going to explain the content of the topic. So take that chapter on that day, whatever you have studied in during the classes, you can practice you have to revise the things, concepts, and the provisions by your own. Try to make your own notes also to be more benefited with those classes, right? It's being continuously advised to the students. Please try to make your own notes, because faculty is also try to give you certain kinds of note, but for the sake of better understanding, better clarity of the provisions, we always suggest to the students, as you are starting with your studies, try to make your own notes then and there, so that you would have a good grasp over the provisions, all those things. So apart from this Finance Number 2 Act Amendment 2024, what else is also relevant? You know that CBDT or the central government comes out with certain notifications also, and CBDT with certain circulars also for the purpose of clarificatory circulars and all those things. So these are also very relevant, because these are for the substantiate the Income Tax Act. So for the students who are going to appear for the May 25 examination, the amendments which are being made by the Finance Act Number 2 Act 2024, along with the notification and circulars or the other legislative amendments we keep are coming till 6 months prior to the examination. Basically, they are again very much relevant for you. So since for the May 25 examination, accordingly, whatever will be the notification, circulars, or other legislative amendments coming into up to 31st of October 2024 would be relevant for May 25 examination. Since this study is going to be released some later on, so we will try to cover most of we will incorporate whatever be the notifications or circulars when they are in the study material itself. But however, in case something left or remains, then we will come out with the stationery update basically. So right, so stationery update also will be bring for the May 25 examination. In case if something is not being covered in the study material, for those notification circulars, we will be coming out for the stat update, right? So for you now, what BOS publications are relevant for you? Basically, the study material. Of course, the study material you have to wait for some time, because this time Number 2 Act has been passed. Due to that reason, the study material is being delayed, because we have to update each and every question. We have to see the implications of the amendments in all the questions, in the judicial updates, in the significant select cases also, right? All those things we have to do. So it is taking some time. Due to that reason, we have uploaded on the website these chapters and all, right? So study material is again very important for you. Start preparation with along with these classes. Take the chapters, like for example, basic concepts is already uploaded on the portal. Chapter 2 also uploaded, and sometime we will upload the chapter 3 also, right? So you start your study from those chapters. In case if something remains which is not published or which is not covered in the study material, then only we will come out with the stationery update for May 25 examination. But for November 25 examination, definitely we have to come out with a separate stat update, because 31st October or 30 we will be covering the notification circulars. But for November 25 example, if we says, then the cutoff date would be your 30th of April 25. For that purpose, we have to surely be come out with the stat update. Then the judicial update. What is the judicial update document is? This document is contains, basically this documents contains the significant select cases of the Supreme Court or the High Court rulings, right? So actually, if you see in your chapters, as presently whatever be the study material is, in the chapter itself, there is a, at the end of the chapter, significant select cases are already given in the study material, right? So though along with those study material, in case something which is not covered in the examination till the time the study material is published, if it is not covered in the study material, then what we do, whatever be the significant rulings will be providing you through this judicial update, basically, right? So at presently, the judicial update also possible. We will be try to cover the rulings which are being pronounced up to 31st October in the study material. In case something left out, then we will be coming out with a separate judicial update also. Otherwise, for November exam, November 25 exam, definitely we have to come out with a judicial update, right? Then the another thing is the revisionary test paper. This is also one of the important publication of the Board of Studies, basically. But this publication you can do, or you should do when you have finished your study material, right? Once you have completed your overall study from these study material and stat update and judicial update, then only you do this RTP. For each examination, we come out with separate RTPs, right? So for May 25 examination, we will be coming out with a separate RTP, and for November again, we will be coming out with a separate RTP. In case if students wants to do the earlier RTPs which are there for May 24 examination and November 24 examination, then you have to keep in mind the amendments which are being made by the Finance Number 2 Act 2024, right? You yourself have to update it. Then only you please do the earlier old RTPs, all these things, right? So this is the thing. Now, this is about your study material, all those things, right? Now, what is your syllabus basically? If you see the direct tax laws paper and the international taxation paper is divided into three segments, broadly it into three segments, basically. Income Tax Act is in, because first is substantial provisions of the law. Basically, substantial means it's a computational based provisions, right? That is limited to the computation of your total income and tax liability. And this is the crux of the Income Tax Act, because whatever is taxable in the Income Tax Act is your income. The whole story revolves around what is income, right? Everything goes around this income. Ki kya income hogi and what income the tax has to be paid by the assessees. So substantive provisions covers the computation of total income and tax liability of various entities, basically, right? This is the substantive provisions. Then we are having with the compliance provisions, basically. Compliance in procedural law also, which is very significant for any act, basically. Ki how you are going to comply with the, how you are going to pay the tax, how you are going to, government will have an overall look on your tax liabilities and all, what is your income. For that purpose, there are procedural laws also, because it's there, definitely assessment is required. It's not necessary na, whatever every individual is paying the tax, it is absolutely correct. For those purpose, government do certain checks basis, basically. They do the assessments also. Then in case of some assessments happens, then definitely there must be some disputes also arises due to those assessments, the conflict between the assessing officer and with the assessee, or right, those things, regulatory bodies and the assessee. So for doing those conflicts, there are appeals and revision things. Then there are dispute resolution thing, or for meeting this, curb these unethical practices and all those, there are certain provisions in the act which are covered as a offenses and prosecution penalties and all those things. And then apart from these tedious provisions, these are the procedural law, basically. This is the second segment of your Income Tax Act or direct tax laws, we can say, right? Then another segment is your international taxation. International taxation again is something which is having a huge impact. Actually, there is a different scope of there for the international taxation itself. So there are three segments. Whole syllabus is divided into three sections, we can say. The first section contains the substantial provisions of the law. Then your second section is on the procedural and compliance laws. And third is your international taxation, basically. For this paper, this study material basically is divided in accordance with the sections itself. If you see, there would be 4 modules. In this paper, there would be 4 modules. And the first 2 modules are based on the section 1, that is from chapter 1 to chapter 12. So these are covered in module 1 and 2, right? Then the third module is basically on the procedural law, basically, and this would be based on the section 2. All the chapters which are based on section 2, this is procedural law, are contained in this module 3. For international taxation, again, there is a separate module, that is module 4. So there are in total 4 modules for final paper 4, direct tax laws and international taxation. So first module and second module basically are on the section 1, that is from chapter 1 to chapter 12. Then second section is there contained in module 3, that is from chapter 13 to chapter 20, right? And the last one, that is on international taxation, it contains the chapters from chapter 21 to 28. Now, what is this section-wise weightages is? As of now, since you have already started starting your study or revising the things, so you can start your studies strategically also. If you see in section 1, what is the weightage assigned here is? This is contains 40 to 45%. That is 100 marks. If you see, then 40 marks to 45 marks will be asked from this section. So that is from chapter 1 to chapter 12. In it itself, in this section 1 itself, there is further division, that is in subsection 1, we can say, and then the subsection 2 in section 1 itself. In subsection 1, if you see, this is subsection 1. Okay. So this is the term of the Income Tax Act section, subsections, clauses, and all those things. So it's subsection 1 of section 1, and it is subsection or subpart, you can say, is it in normal terminology, section. इसके लिए separate weightages assigned. If you see for subsection 1, 20 to 23%, that is 20 to 23 marks question would be there. So from chapter 1 to chapter 9, that is up to assessment of various entities. You are starting with the basic concepts, then moving to your assessment of various entities, that is chapter 9, right? Here it is chapter 9. Now, in the subsection 2, if you see, there are only 3 chapters. There are only 3 chapters, but the weightage assigned for these 3 chapters is 20 to 22%. 20 to 22%. Huge weightage is assigned. And it contains only 3 chapters, if you see, in overall. That is charitable trust, then your tax planning, and this is taxation of digital transactions, right? 3 chapters. But if you see, the separate code of computation of income is there for the charitable trust. Basically, if you see normal provisions, this is quite different. Basically, separate registration scheme is there, their computation of income, application of income is there. So there are certain different provisions are there which are prescribed under the Income Tax Act for the taxing the trust and institutions and political parties. And special entities here, it means these the REITs, basically real estate investment trust and trust and all. So REITs, investment fund, securitization trust are also covered in chapter 10 itself, right? Then your tax planning, tax avoidance and tax evasion contains the provisions of GAR also, right? Then chapter 12 mein what all is covered? This is equalization levy. Then your VDA basically is covered in chapter 12. If you see now with the Finance Number 2 Act, they have abolished equalization levy 2. What is equalization levy 2 was? It was on applicable on the supply of services, all right. So for that, they have removed that. So equalization levy 1, which is on the, as of now, it is on the advertisement services only of 6% and all. So that would be relevant for you for the May 25 attempt, right? So it is covered in chapter 12. Now, in the procedural law, if you go, then from deduction, collection and recovery of tax, that is TDS collection, TDS, TCS, and your recovery of tax means your advanced tax provisions, your tax recovery provisions are also covered in this DDS chapter. Then income tax authorities, assessment procedure, appeals and revision, your dispute resolution, provisions to counteract unethical practices. It contains 3 topics basically. This chapter contains 3 topics, that is penalties, offenses and prosecution, and the black money law. Black money law was not earlier in the earlier scheme, but this has been introduced in the new scheme itself, the black money law, right? Then it in this chapter 20, that is tax audit and ethical compliance, is the new inserted in the new chapter, new syllabus only. It is introduced in the new syllabus, that is tax audit and ethical compliance, right? So these are the in the section 2, and the weightage assigned for this is 20 to 30%, right? Then for section 3, it is on international taxation. So it is a huge weightage. If you see, 30 to 35% is being given for a one module. If you see from chapter 21 to 28, right? So chapter 21, non-resident taxation, your DTA provisions, transfer pricing, advance ruling, your overview of model tax conventions, BEPS, application and interpretation of tax treaties, and your this thing, latest developments in international taxation. These are the provisions there. So आप देखोगे, if you are doing these chapters only, you will be able to fetch this 30 to 35% marks easily. If you understand the provisions, you know how to apply the provisions, right? So accordingly, you can plan your studies for the subject basically. This is about the section wise weightages and all. Now, what would be your paper assessment? This is important for you. That's why I'm explaining you what would be the manner of assessment for May 25 examination. As of now, you know that 30% would be asked in the form of case scenario based MCQs, 30%, right? So 30 marks of paper would be in the form of case scenario based MCQs, and 70% would be descriptive question. Descriptive question, so it is in part 1. There would be 2 parts for this paper. Part 1, that is for 30 marks. Then part 2, that is for 70 marks basically. Case scenario based, so paper की strategy क्या हो जाएगी? आपकी preparation strategy is going to change. I feel that preparation strategy for attempting any type of paper, it would be same only, right? It would not going to change. What is that in the MCQ segment? Of course, you need not to write any reasoning on all those things. You need not to give the reasoning, but definitely you have to understand and apply the provision on the facts given in the case scenarios. Similarly, if you see, the descriptive questions are also asked in the form of case scenarios only, right? If you see, they are also based on some facts of the case scenarios, right? Facts are given to you. It's not knowledge based something, you have to apply the provisions on the facts given in the case scenarios, right? Similarly, in the descriptive also, if you see, the question paper is asked in the form of case scenario only, but the manner of attempting the paper is different. In the descriptive question, of course, you have to write the provision itself, right? Whatever treatment you are doing, you have to substantiate your solutions and the answers with the proper provisions, with the correct provisions of the law, right? And that can be happen only when you understand the things properly, right? You able to retain the things properly. How it will happen? When you make your own notes, whatever provision you are learning, try to summarize the important and crucial aspects of the provisions in your own notes, right? You write yourself. So chahe whether you are attempting the MCQ paper or the descriptive paper, preparation and strategy for the both type of parts would be same, right? This is not going to change. But the difference is, in the MCQ segment, you need not to give any reasoning, but descriptive segment, you have to give the reasoning. And what are other difference? First major difference is that in case of MCQ segment, in case you have done wrong, then you are not going to fetch any a single mark. There is a chance of losing the whole marks. In descriptive portion, but what happens? You have the opportunity to grab some of the marks by getting some step marking, because step mark is there in the descriptive portion basically. So whatever you have done correctly, you have written properly, so for that portion you will fetch the marks. But in case of MCQs, in case you have incorrectly chosen the option, then you are not going to fetch any marks. So you have to be extra careful while doing the MCQ portion, right? For that purpose, practicing the MCQ segments and all, basically we will be coming out with the updated MCQs segment in some time after releasing the public this study material and all. As of now, the MCQ dashboard is there for those students who are appearing for the November exams, right? But for the coming exam, May 25, we will be updating the MCQs and case scenario based questions in the coming time after release of the study material and all, right? So what is happening as of now? First, just emphasis is on the chapter itself in on the provision, because understanding and you should know how to apply the provision is very important before attempting any MCQs or case scenario based things. Because case scenario based, if you see, they are not based on the single chapter. Basically, some of the case scenarios might possible they are based on the some single chapter or all. Otherwise, they are in the form of integration. It's not key they will be asked on the, of course, some question may be asked based on the transfer pricing. It's possible that some questions may be asked based on the TDS provisions. It's quite possible they will be touching upon some PGBP provisions. So integrated case scenario will be the mixture of integration of 2 or more chapters or 2 or more provisions of the act, basically. So for that purpose, it is always advised, first you finish your study, right? First you finish your whole syllabus, then you attempt the case scenarios based questions. For that purpose, we will be coming out with the separate MTPs, mock test papers, and the RTP. A mock test paper, again, you cannot appear before doing your covering your whole syllabus. Basically, you have to prepare the whole syllabus, then you should attempt the mock test paper. It will give you the, you can assess the level of preparation in the of the paper. Basically, it will help you out to manage the time also. So for that purpose, you have to wait and finish your study for doing the MTPs and RTPs. We will be also publishing the MTP, RTP later on, not now, right now, but we will be doing it later on, right? So keep in mind, for manner of assessment would be 30% case scenario based question or 70% descriptive. The preparation strategy is same for both the type of questions, right? So this is the about all this. The pattern of question paper also I can explain you right now ki what type of descriptive. Basically, MCQs, if you see, 30 marks would be in the form of MCQs. Some of the independent case scenarios also would be there along with the case scenario based MCQs. But the descriptive portion, if you see at present, what is the paper pattern is, first question would be compulsory question of 14 marks. In the descriptive paper, there would be 6 questions in total. In the descriptive segment, there would be 6 questions in total. The first question would be of 14 marks, which is a compulsory question, right? And from the remaining 5 questions, student has to attempt any 4 questions, and each questions would be carrying 14 marks. Okay, so there will be a choice in the remaining 5 questions. But first question, it's a compulsory question, which is based on the computation of total income and tax liability of companies, firms, or various other assessees, right? It would be on that basis, basically. And the skill testing would be evaluation and synthesis skill. It means you can be tested from the angle of the judicial rulings also. Some adjustment can be based on the judicial ruling, based on the provisions of the provision of the law and all those things. This requires the evaluation and synthesis skill to attempt this question number 1, basically. Then other questions would be on the other aspects of the law. So this is about the paper pattern. This would be understanding later on. We will be coming out with the other separate session for explaining you what would be how you have to attempt those papers and all. But before moving and giving you Ridhima, I would like the students to just come with me and have a look at the institute website, where they have to go and do the study material. They have to get their RTPs, they will get their MTPs and all. So just taking you through them the institute website. Just wait, students. Is it visible, Ridhima, website?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's visible. So this is our institute's website. If you go to the student section, there is a BUS knowledge portal, right? You have to go there and keep referring this BUS knowledge portal regularly, because we are coming out with the regular developments which are taking place by the Board of Studies, right? So if you click here to visit the BUS knowledge, you have to click here, and there is a student login, because many students comes here for counseling purpose with us, and we are very much surprised that they are not aware of all the facilities or whatever the publications we are giving them. They are not aware of all those things. It's really very surprising for us that being a student of the ICAI and the CA students, you are not aware of your own institute's website, basically. This is the reason we want to give you the tour of our institute website. This is a student login, basically. Students, what all is there in the student login? Basically, you have to select your course, right? Final, then enter your registration number, your date of birth and all, then you will be logging in to your this student portal. In this student portal, basically, the MCQ dashboard is there. right? So I cannot suggest to do the MCQs right now before doing your studies with the chapters and going through our whole syllabus. So before you should not do all those things. Abhi at presently what you can do, you can refer the viewers जो आपकी recordings हैं, जो अभी whatever the class is going on, those recordings are also available on the this portal. You can go directly and view the recording sessions there, and the schedule of the classes is available on the website, right? All those things are there. The notes, the faculty is going to upload the notes and all, it will be available there, right? Then apart from this student login, what we offer basically study material under the new scheme. You all are aware of the study material saransh is there for most of the subjects. All of the subjects are basically as of now. For direct tax laws also saransh is available, but this is not as per the finance number 2 act 2024. You have to read this saransh along with the amendments which are being made by the finance number 2 act 2024, right? So you can take an help from the saransh to know how to make the notes and how to make the diagrams of the things, because at this level I think you all are you all can update the things as in when you are reading the things, and then you can update the saransh also. When you know the provision, then you can easily do it, right? So this is the saransh for most of the paper. Then RTP, revisionary test papers are there, and your previous year question paper. We do not advise actually for the direct tax laws papers to do the old things, because they need keep updations regularly. In case you are able to do the updations, then you can practice. Otherwise, just rely on the, just do the whatever we are releasing latest, right? Latest publications and latest documents only. Student general is there. Suggested answers, you can go through the suggested answers just to have a understanding what type of questions are being asked in the paper and how to present your answers and all those things. For that purpose, you can refer the suggested answer. At presently, suggested answer basically are available for basically only for one attempt, that is May 24 attempt. I mean 25 November 24 attempt is going to happen. So this is for May 24 examination. Basically you can just refer, see, if you see this assessment year is 24-25, it is clearly mentioned on the paper also this paper is relating to which assessment year, right? For you people, the assessment year would be 25-26. So accordingly you have to keep in mind what are the income tax act as per the finance number 2 act provision, those are relevant. So accordingly you need to update this suggested answers, right? Then what else? If you go and see, let me take you through this study material thing. If you go to the study material, final May, English medium, Hindi medium study material is also available. If you see, there is a direct tax laws which is applicable for May 25 and November 25 examination. We have uploaded module 1 May, the 2 chapters, basic concepts, and chapter 2, incomes which do not form part of total income, right? In coming time, we will be uploading the chapter 3 also, and simultaneously, as and when we are updating, we keep on web hosting the chapters. So you can start preparing from those things. Then this is about all those things. Then judicial update. At presently, since November 24 examination is going to happen, judicial update is web hosted for November exam, for statutory update for November exam. This is one of the important thing that at this level we always suggest students to do their studies with the Bare Act also. You should know how to read the Bare Act basically. This is very important for you. Start understanding the Bare Act provision itself, right? Because after becoming a CA, you will be requiring to refer the Bare Act only to understand the latest provisions and all those things, right? If you click on here, the Income Tax Act 1961, then Income Tax Rules 1962, Income Tax Act, if you see, then it will be taking you through to the income tax website only. If you see Income Tax Act as amended by Finance Act number 2, Act 2024. So the sections or the Income Tax Act which is relevant for you, this is as amended by the Finance number 2 Act 2024. So here are the provisions which are being amended as per the latest Finance Act, right? So whatever, for example, in case any provisions, definitely we are going to discuss if we are in this chapter also. 115 BAC, if you see, there are many amendments, right? This is covered in the basic concepts, right, Ridhima? So those things, if you see, try to read the provisions, whatever you are discussed in the class with the help of the Bare Act also, right? If you go and see 115 BAC, let me take you through this 115 BAC. This is 115 BAC and it contains it is updated as per if you see here, there are so many amendments which it keeps on changing. Earlier, the slab rates are different. Then last time again they revised the slab rates. This time again they revised the slab rates to this 3 lakh to 3 lakh to 7 lakh, 7 lakh to 10 lakh, all those things. So these are the amendments basically. If you see, you will find that these are being updated as per the Finance Number 2 Act. यहाँ पे it's clearly written कि following subsection 1A shall be substituted for existing subsection 1A by the Finance Number 2 Act 2024. And this is relevant from 1/4/2025, right? This is relevant from, that is assessment year 25-26, right? So anything which you want to ask, this is about your institute website, right? You should go and refer this BEAR Act also, as in when you are studied certain provisions in the class, try to, understand those provisions with the help of BEAR Act also. It will help you to know how to read the provisions of the act itself, right? So in case if you want to ask anything, you are most welcome. You can ask me any query relating to this. I have received May 24 relevant study material. You can do otherwise for chapter 1, because as and when your class is going to be happen, Anila, you can download the relevant chapter also from the study material. If you see, chapter 1 and 2 are already web hosted on the institute website. आपका जैसे जैसे chapters होंगे, as and when we are taking the class for the relevant chapters, you can refer the study material itself, right? On the website it is available. So you can do this study, because again you can highlight, because the amendments portion we will be giving you by making them italics or bold, so that you can easily know these are the amended portions basically. So you will easily catch from the web. आप देखोगे web host already chapter 1 हो गया है, वहाँ पे rates and all those things have undergone change for the capital gains में देखेंगे, and in between they have made the changes in the capital gains. So both the rates are given for the capital gains basically, कि आपका 23/7 से पहले the property or the capital asset being transferred, what was the position of the law. If the property is transferred after this, then what is the applicable rate of tax. So all those things are given in italics and all. So I think you can refer the latest chapters which are available. In case if you feel कि नहीं whatever study material I want to do my own, then please be extra careful while doing the updates by your own, because certain questions are also keeps on changing due to the impact of the amendments basically. So each and everything is very difficult for the you to update actually. Right, same thing. Oja also want to ask you, right? Okay. Will you also discuss questions on problems? Definitely, each chapters and each class will be having the practical problems also. We will be covering the practical problems also, right? In case if you feel कि some more problems can be taken in the class, then please write a feedback and we will give you the feedback to the faculty who is taking the class, and we will try to cover more and more questions also, right? There is no problem in that. So I think Ridhima, now we can start with our chapter basic concepts, right? Thank you,
Thank you so
students.
much, ma'am.
Now Ridhima is, taking this, continue this session for you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very detailed, and I think students should take the full knowledge of it, because they tend to grab paper-related knowledge and study material-related knowledge from their peers, and sometimes they do not get the right one. So please, I encourage everyone to see this half-an-hour video again if you have any doubts, and you can write it out to ma'am or us that this is
Yes.
still pending or anything, that what is the clarity on it, because direct tax is one such thing which keeps on changing and changing, and this year too there are two budgets which have come. So
every year it happens, Ridhima. We keep I cross fingers, but every time it happens ki they are coming out with so many amendments basically, and we have to update the study material regularly. And for the students also, actually, you have to
Correct.
update those who have not able to, successful in the previous attempts. Of course, they have to update themselves for to attempt the next attempt, right? And
Erase
for
that previous knowledge and bring that fresh
yeah,
knowledge in,
for
which are
May
very tough.
actually it happens. May के लिए थोड़ा difficult होता है, and those students who have already appeared in the May exams, then they will be benefited because same assessment it is relevant for
Correct.
them for the November exams. So it is a
Correct.
dual
Correct.
benefit for the November students actually. The RTP they can easily refer, the suggested answer they can easily refer, which is there for the May attempt. But yeah, for May 25 actually, or the May whatever be the year it is, so they you have to abreast with the latest updates basically. So,
True,
students,
true,
yeah,
true.
Ridhima, well said. In case of any feedback, please give us. And in case of any query relating to this subject, then you can write to us through this student portal, or please download our institute website to be, notified with the latest updates, announcements and all those keeps on coming. So please download the institute website also in your
App,
mobile,
the
because
app.
mobile app is there. The BOS
Okay.
mobile app is there. You can download it to get the latest notifications and all those things, because pop-up message is going to come whenever any new update takes place in these things, right? All those things is available on the BOS app also. You can easily refer the study material, all these publications from that mobile app, right? So thank you, dear students. And Ridhima, please, now you take on.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So let's begin today's class. I hope the screen is visible. Perfect. So, with a quick introduction, I'm C. Ridhima Bhatia, and I'll be taking you through the topics of basic concepts and PGBP. So, we'll be meeting every Tuesday and Friday for the next few weeks. And the remaining of the direct tax schedule, if I'll be taking or not, would be let to me know also, and let to you also know. So, what we'll be studying income tax. How we'll be studying? My base here would be the study material. Why we are focusing on study material? So that when you are revisiting such chapters, you can have the look to the lecture and also to the study material simultaneously. One such thing from a CA student, I'm saying, not from a CA faculty, that make this study material your Bible. Practice each question which is there, read each line which is there. You are final students, so you are not intermediate students, or you are not someone who is giving any graduation exam. You are final students. You are to be CA soon, and we expect our students to have that hold in the knowledge of law. You should say assessee ko assessee, not a person ko person, individual ko individual. मतलब there should not be intermixing of certain technical knowledge ki chalta hai wala attitude. Would now you have to inculcate that in your reading and understanding, so that it is there in your exams also. You write it properly, the language is written properly, and then it is there in your daily life also. You know why direct tax people love or people do not love? There is one such difference, is when they're able to relate it to the subject, when they're able to understand the subject and relate it with their daily practices and daily understanding, they love direct tax. But when they think that direct tax is just a volume, nothing is, they tend to have that fear. So I'll try that you do not have that fear of direct tax at all. Yes, ma'am told you that there are so many chapters and so many sections, but if you will pick them step by step, and if you will cover them step by step, direct tax is pretty much relatable and scoreable. One thing you have to remember is now that you have to adapt writing the language of law. You have to adapt, as ma'am told also, that you have to adapt the writing the language of law. You have to adapt writing and reading the bare law. हम ये नहीं बोलेंगे कि समझ नहीं आया. Google is now not our go-to solution for law, income tax. What is our go-to solution? The bare act or the study material. Okay, and obviously we are here to help you. If you have any doubt, we can help you in easy language. We can help you in your vernacular language. But yes, many a times I say, कि ma'am, please say in Hindi, please say in Hindi. Since it's a pan-India lecture, it would be completely in English. I may use a certain slang or summarize it for some of you if you say it in Hindi, but otherwise, the language of these particular lectures would be in English. Okay, so these were the basic thing. Now, today's class is actually basic concepts, and most of us do not tend to study this chapter because we think that we might not have a lot of this from coming this particular chapter. I sort of agree also. I'll not say that basic concept is an extremely important chapter, but you know what? Basic concept is one such chapter which we'll be doing today where you will feel a bit confident and bit warmth of the income tax. You may not get an exam to write who is an SSE, but if your knowledge that what SSE is, if your knowledge is what assessment year is, if your knowledge is that how to read an income tax act, how to read a finance act, how to understand what is a domestic company, what is an Indian company, and do not make that interchangeability in future, my class today would be successful. So basic concepts today will be, since we have almost 2.5 of class left, would be today thoroughly on certain definitions, thoroughly on certain concepts. And the next class, which would be on Friday, would be purely practical, where we'll be studying the rates 115 BAC with examples, with a lot of calculations, with a lot of problem solving, so that please bring your calculators definitely in the next class. Okay, my class rule here is one and simple, that I need reciprocation. That means I need to understand whether my students are understanding or not. If you're unable to understand, please write. And do not hesitate in asking any question. Do not think that this question is simple. Do not think this question is basic. It is already answered. If you are not clear, we are not clear. So please focus on step-by-step approach. Jahan pe bhi you have problem, just write it down to us, whether in live class or otherwise, because life may bring that habit that now you only have to ask question for yourself. Everyone will not point out again and again ki samajh aaya nahi. Okay, so jahan pe bhi there is any doubt, wherever there is any confusion, please write it, and if I ask something, please participate in it. Okay, so let's begin the topic of basic concepts. Any other thing which I can entertain? My voice is breaking. Let me check. Is anyone else is feeling a break in my voice? Pooja, Anil, it's clear. Mamta, can you log out and log in again? I think then it would be better. Okay, so I'll again say that this topic, daily life say, everyday life say, is very important. Practically, obviously, this topic may rates are very important, which we'll be discussing in the next class. But don't worry. Yes, don't worry. We'll be having breaks also. You'll be having a good time to fresh yourself and come up. Okay. So now, first of all, income tax. So how one has to read income tax, as a lot of things ma'am touch, I'll maybe touch it again. See, income tax simple hai, income tax act hai. For any law to understand, there's an act for it, which is obviously passed by the government through proper houses and proper asset. Okay, income tax act may changes. There are a lot of changes every year. How these changes comes into picture? Through finance act. Because once an income tax act or once any act is done, either it would be amended every year. So the act gets amended through Finance Act. My handwriting is very bad when it comes to tablet, but I'll try कि समझ आए, ठीक है? Through Finance Act. Now, Income Tax Act, आप जब भी whenever you're writing an exam, there are small tips which I'll give you to score better in exam. You will never write Income Tax Act. You will always write the year with it. 1961, the year with it. Okay? Because हमें लगता है that we are writing the exam properly, but we do not give attention to small details, and that's why we lose marks. And this is not only for income tax, this is for all the act. Whenever you're writing the act, write with it the year. Okay. Now coming to the Finance Act. Any amendments which have to take place in the Income Tax Act are done through basically through Finance Act or through ordinances which are passed in Parliament. But major amendments which come every year, which are come through Finance Act. Finance Act क्या है? This is common parlance में we all call it budget, right? But basically budget में क्या होता है? The finance minister propose a finance bill. Bill or act में, I hope you all know difference. Bill क्या होता है? Any law which the government wants to bring into effect is proposed as bill in the House of Parliament. That bill, when passed in both the houses, and once the president assent, that is president approval comes, it becomes an act. Okay? So finance bill is proposed in the budget generally on first day of February, but since this year there was Lok Sabha elections, it was proposed twice. One was an interim budget, which happened in 1st February. Then there was a main finance act, which came on 23rd July. The main finance bill, which came on 23rd July, which was passed, I think, on 16th August by the parliament. Now, you obviously have to refer Income Tax Act 1961, but my May 25 students have to refer the act which is amended by the Finance Act number 2, 2024. Now, when you will be reading in your study material, this is how it would be written also. So when in the exam also, if you're referring to Finance Act, you have to refer it like this. Please focus on these small details. Today's class would be all about detailing, which will help you in general. Okay. So Finance Act number 2024. Along with that, what you all have to refer now, Act आपको कहाँ मिलेगा? Act, ma'am, you have been given a clear path that how do you have to access the Act. Income Tax Act आपका, there is in your students portal also, and you can access it otherwise also to the Income Tax India website. If I have to show you, this is here. Income Tax India website, on the main homepage itself, you will click on the tax law rules, it is here. So any which way you can go, both are absolutely correct. You will click here Income Tax Act, and as I told you, it will come as Income Tax Act as amended by Finance Act number 2, 2024, which is now relevant for May 25 students. पुराना amendment क्या था इस act से पहले? You can just change the act whenever you want to whichever finance act you want, and you will get the Income Tax Act as per that finance act. But always refer to the latest one. Okay. Even if you're reading it somewhere in the book form, please make sure that this is the one which is now you're reading. Okay. Now, here on the website, you will get everything. You will get Income Tax Act, you will get the Finance Act, the Finance Bill. Act or bill may change hoga. Very rarely it may happen that there are changes in the bill and act. Bill is what is proposed, act is what is passed. Proposed, passed. So bill में proposal हुआ, then parties in the parliament, stakeholders, representations, everything को mind में रख के Finance Act को pass करने से पहले certain changes can be done. Very common change which you have seen in the news also. पहले finance bill में there was that that indexation would be completely removed. But when the bill was passed and it became to an act, when the bill was passed and became to act in another 20 days, they said, okay, indexation would not be completely removed. We will keep it for immovable property for individuals and HUF, right? So this is how the bill and act will have the difference. You have to refer to the act. Again, these knowledge you are thinking that would not help in exam, but I'm telling you this would help you a lot in your life throughout, okay? Now, whenever you are reading, your study material comprises not only of the content of the act, it comprises the amendments also, which are through finance bill, but also along with that, it has rules. Income tax rules. Income tax rules 1962. Now, why income tax rule 1962? Act may they tell what is to be done. Rules may it is tell how it is to be done. Sometimes rules will tell you which form you have to refer, what is the procedure to carry it all. Now, Act will tell that there would be certain prescribed, where the word prescribed is there, definitely a rule would be there for it. Definitely a rule would be there for it. जहाँ पे भी लिखा होगा ना as prescribed, तो वहां पे you have to refer the rule. Definitely उसके लिए there would be a rule which will tell you how this thing has to be done. Okay, so Income Tax Act is clear, Income Tax Rule is clear, Finance Bill is clear, Finance Act is clear. Then apart from that, there are regular circular and notifications. Again, Act may, when it is passed, it is written as may be notified by the government, as may be notified by the central government. So, government in due course, understanding if and buts, they will pass a notification. So that notification comes into picture once the government passes. यहाँ पे एक्ट में लिखा होगा. Circulars are more of clarificatory nature, where they want to bring certain FAQs, where they want to address certain clarifications, they will pass circulars. Circulars are mostly passed by the CBDT, where they suppose there is a thing that the change of TDS would be applicable from 1st October. But whether the threshold limit of it has to be considered from 1st October or whether the threshold limit of it has to be considered from the first day of the year itself, that is 1st April, that is a clarification, that is a question which comes in mind, that is clarified by CBDT through circulars. Sorted? Circulars clears, notification clears, Income Tax Act clear, Income Tax Rules clear, and Finance Bill and Finance Act clear. what else do you have to refer to get a complete understanding of your course, which is your income tax, is the case laws. Now you say case laws, you say judicial decisions, you say judicial pronouncements. It is one and the same thing. More you will not find it here. There are a lot of pronouncement which keeps on coming one after another, which at your stage you have to refer only to the one which are there in your module or one which come as a judicial update before your exam. That's it. Apart from that, you do not have to refer any judicial updates. There, because in the BOS body take care of what judicial pronouncements are very much relevant from your exam perspective, and then only they prescribed it. Earlier, when we used to study, there were a lot of judicial pronouncements. Now they have filtered it out and have kept only those which actually matter. Okay, so why reading them is important? Because sometimes direct question comes based on that judicial pronouncement. They will just make a case scenario out of that judicial pronouncement, and a direct question would come from it. Now, how one read the judicial pronouncement? Now, if I give you an example here, just 1 second. Hmm. Now, this is how you will study a judicial pronouncement. These are the every chapter के end में there are significant select cases which would which you have to go through. Don't think that this is just general thing. I think in a basic chapter there would be 4 essay. In some complex chapter like PGBP or maybe TDS etc. there might be 10. इससे ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. Don't worry about that. How do you read it? See, most weightage of any judicial pronouncement is the one which is coming from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court pronouncements are at the top. That means they hold a lot of validity. In fact, many pronouncements at the lower level or many litigations at the lower level are squashed because what has been said by Supreme Court on the matter of law is final. Until and unless there is some actually major change. Otherwise, it is final and it is considered by everyone for the litigation purpose. Then there is High Court announcements. Then there are ITAT, Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, ITAT announcements, which are relevant. Supreme Court judgments are relevant for all. High Court's judgment may the stand is taken by the area itself. So if Delhi High Court judgment is there, then it is applicable on the Delhi High Court jurisdiction, Delhi jurisdiction. If Mumbai High Court judgment is there, it is there for Mumbai jurisdiction. Yes, you can take the understanding of it from. Suppose I'm a Delhi SSC, I can take an understanding of it from a Mumbai jurisdiction. And it is very much seen in the past that maybe on a same topic of law, Delhi High Court has some other view, Mumbai High Court has some other view, and both are valid. Then you have to see which jurisdiction you come from, and you will take the stand from that particular jurisdiction. Okay, in your course, most of the jurisdiction which are covered by the institute are of the Supreme Court only. Very rarely there are of High Court or ITAT. So do not worry about other things. Now, how do you read it? These are who has filed the appeal against whom. This is the SC means Supreme Court. High Court it will always be written which High Court, Delhi High Court, Allahabad High Court, Mumbai High Court, which High Court. Okay. This is basically the journal of the income tax where this particular ruling is present. Particular ruling means the particular facts of the case, the particular issue, the particular pronouncement, the particular conclusion is present. So, suppose if I'm talking about Melanand case, you will go to the ITR, which is the journal there, uska 29th volume पे 456 page पे you will see this particular ruling. You will see that particular ruling of Supreme Court. Now, this you don't have to remember if you can, very good. But at least when you're referring to case law, remember the year of the ruling, year of the judgment, remember the party, and remember who has announced that judgment. Supreme Court, High Court, who has announced that judgment. Okay. Please, एक और चीज, एक very common question which comes to me is, ma'am, whether we have to remember the section. I don't think so. Final students should be asking this. But if you're asking, yes, you have to remember the sections. But if you're unable to remember the sections, do not quote the wrong section. If you're unable to remember the subsection, at least quote the section. For chapters like TDS, for chapter like your PGBP, for chapter like assessment or penalties, sections are important to remember. Sections relevance are very very important. Okay, so do not think that section को नहीं याद रखेंगे. How will you remember the section? So many sections. Write it down. Section A, this is it. Paste it on a wall where you see it every day. You will remember it. I know there are 7 subjects, 6 subjects, or 8 subjects. This way you have to remember, but you are capable of it. Do not self-doubt yourself. You will be able to do it. Okay. So back to where were we? To understand income tax, we have to understand the act, we have to understand the Finance Act, we have to understand the income tax rules, we have to understand the case laws, and obviously circular notification. Now, interesting thing is, all these things are covered in your study material topic wise, that you do not have to go from one end to another to find it. So wherever the topic is, there is the act of it, there is a relevant rule for it, there is a relevant amendment for it, there's a relevant circular notification for it, and in that topic the case law is also there. So make a habit, whenever you're reading any topic, read any topic, you do it completely. You cover the amendments also, you cover the rules also, you cover the notification also, circulars also, case laws also, and also along with it, practice the questions which are there in your study material, practice the questions which are there in your RTP. Once you will do this thorough for each topic, just remember the confidence boost you will have. Just remember that, oh, now I have seen it from everywhere. Now I have done the question also. Any question will come, I'll be able to do it. And do not devote more than 15 minutes. Make a 15 minutes in for making that note. 15 minutes uska notes banao, so that it can be revised in future in next 5 minutes. This is how you have to strategize yourself. Notes are readily available in the market. I will not comment on that. But as ma'am also focused, why we force you to make your own notes is, A, you will know which thing to refer to how when you have that 2 days revision period. B, you will know that now how to write it because you're reading it and writing it, and that's why a summary is also going in your mind. Correct? So that will make your mind efficiency more proficient. Imagine reading just the summary notes, then imagine reading the law and then creating the summary note by yourself. How your mind understand that provision and basically process that knowledge, right? So there is a difference, definitely. And we are not saying do not refer to Saransh. Saransh is also there. Do not refer to notes. We are saying make a habit to do yourself so that you have a habit to write. Okay, and one more thing, do not do the questions by your eyes. In the sense, I've seen people doing study material question like, okay, ऐसा है, done. No, this is absolutely wrong. And then they say, ma'am, we have done complete study material. No, read the question, mark the important thing, mark the triggering points. Ki this will impact my answer. This will tell which section is telling me which section is applicable, which section they are testing. Do it yourself. Don't, if you are short of time, do not do it completely like a paper presentation. If you can do that, very good. If you are not able to, at least write and do the calculation yourself, and then match it with the book. This is how the study should go. Any doubt? And yes, oh, I was just checking. Any doubt? Shall we proceed next? Okay. Now, interesting thing in ACT, which I have seen a lot of students do not get is second. Mm, how to study the act is how to understand the act. Basically, they make a very small problem in saying what is an act, what is a rule, what is this. So let's understand it. See, your act is there, and this is again relevant for every particular act. It is divided into chapters. जैसे module is divided into chapters, the income tax act is also divided into chapters. Preliminary chapter, basis of charge is there, then computation of total income, and there are all five heads of income, then there is clubbing, then there is set off, then there is deduction ka chapter. This is how the chapters are there, and every chapter will have sections in relation to it. Yes, Stephen, the Income Tax Act is there once you log in on the students portal. There is below, you'll move, scroll down, there is there. Okay. So these are all sections related to that chapter. Do we have to remember the chapters? Most of the places where there is a chapter reference to chapter 6A, which is your deductions. Then there is chapter references to TDS, which you can refer. Otherwise, as such, you do not have to remember the chapter. Now coming to section wise. This is section. Now each chapter may there are multiple sections and then sections where there are subsections, etc., etc. But how do we understand that what is section, what is subsection, what is section, what is clause, what is subclause? So this is how you will read it. Now, if I have to say you to read this particular part, you will say it, ma'am, section 2, subsection 1A. Right? This is what you will say. But I'll say this is wrong. This is section 2, clause 1A. This is section 2, clause 1A. And then I'll give you another example. Let's say I'm picking this section, okay? And you will say it, okay, ma'am, this is section 35, clause 1 now, because you said that no. Earlier you said this is equal section 35 subsection 1 and then section 35 clause 1. How are we actually differentiating it? Very simple. Now, if you see, whenever a section starts with a general statement and then each part of it is an independent part, not related to the other, then that part is called clause. अब जैसे this is starting with the general understanding के unless otherwise stated. तो सेक्शन 2 में सबसेक्शन 1 नहीं है because subsection 1 and subsection 1 are not interrelated, they are independent. 1 में advanced tax का definition है, 1A में agricultural income का definition is there. So there is no interdependency that to understand 1A I have to first read 1 or to understand say randomly 1C I have to first go through what is written in 1, 1A, 1B, 1C. No, it's not there. I have to just randomly come to 1C because I have to understand what is the additional commissioner. So this is a independent para in itself, independent provision itself. So that's why it is section 2, clause 1C, not subsection 1C. Why? Because section 2 may each division itself is a independent division and is not dependent on other. Clear? Trust me, CA बनने के बाद भी a lot of people do not know this. Okay? But if I talk about this, which is here on your screen again, section 35, इसको I'll say subsection 1. Why I will say subsection 1? Because these all are a related component of the main section. They are all the related component of the main section, and hence to understand maybe probably subsection 2 or subsection 3, I have to understand subsection 1 first. I have to understand subsection 1 first, or I have to read subsection 1 first to understand what is actually going on in 2 and 3. ठीक है, सो अब इसको अब आप क्या बोलोगे, सेक्शन 35 सबसेक्शन 1 एंड इसको यू विल से सेक्शन 2 क्लॉज 1 और 2 क्लॉज 1A. Yes, you can write it like this. 1 second. Yeah. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So दोनों को you will write it like this only, section 2 clause 1A, but you will read it as section 2 clause 1A and इसको section 2 or sorry section 35 subsection 1. ठीक है, लिखोगे ऐसे ही, जरूरी नहीं है that in the exam you have to write it like section 35 subsection 1. You can write it like this also, but you have to understand what is what called. Next important thing which will help you a lot in your daily life. हाँ, अब इसके बाद सेक्शन 35 सबसेक्शन 1 clause 2a ऐसे है, ठीक है, दैट इज लाइक दैट. नाउ नेक्स्ट थिंग, डेफिनेशन के लिए देयर इज वन कोर सेक्शन विच इज section 2. In all the acts, definition के लिए there is section 2, whereby you understand the definitions which are applicable in the entire act. But again, having said that, that does not mean that a particular section may not have a definition. A particular section may not have a definition. If a particular section have a definition of something, that definition will apply to that particular section only. For example, this will happen a lot when you are reading definitions in relation to relative or family in case of deductions, etc. So whatever the definition of family is there for that particular section, it would apply for that particular section only. But whatever is there in section 2 would generally apply until and otherwise there is a particular definition based section. Sorted? Now, one more thing, explanation may generally a definition might be given, a more clarity might be given. So if I have to read this, alignment is very important while studying the act. If any explanation का alignment is इसके अंदर, see, यहाँ पे explanation का alignment is to this. That means this is explanation to clause 1 of subsection 1 of section 35. Okay, if I will say you to go to explanation 2 of clause 1, subsection 1, section 35, you will come here. But this explanation, you see alignment पे, this explanation is for section 35 itself because वो यहाँ पे aligned है. ठीक है? This is here which is for section 35 itself. Sorted? Explanation to section 35 and ये explanation to clause 1 of subsection 1 of section 35. Similarly, provided word जहाँ पे लिखा होगा, wherever provided word is written, that is a proviso. Provisions and proviso में there is a difference. Provisions is what the act in general is saying, that as per the provisions of so and so section. ठीक है? What is written in that section. Proviso means what is the exception to the section in general or what is the condition to the section in general. ठीक है? So whenever the word provided is written, it is called proviso. Provided further. फिर से provided लिखा, फिर से provided लिखा. So how will you read it? Whenever the first provided comes, it is the first proviso. Then whenever provided further comes, it is second proviso. Similarly, provided also लिखा होगा, then it would be third proviso. This is how it goes. So आपको कोई नहीं बोले, no one will tell you that, okay, read provided also wala of this. No. You have to read it like if someone says read second proviso to clause 2 of subsection 1 to section 35, where will you go? We will go here. As written in second proviso to clause 2 of subsection 1, section 35. Okay, but if I say move to third proviso of section 35, then here third proviso. पहले proviso हमेशा provided से start होता है. First proviso is always started with provided. Second proviso always starts with provided further, and then subsequent proviso starts with provided also. Okay, if I say you to go to third proviso of section 35, then this is third proviso, provided also. This is fourth proviso provided also. This is fifth proviso. So third proviso of section 35. Sorted. जो provided यहाँ पे है, this proviso which is there in to the clause is applicable only to the clause. This proviso which is there to the section is applicable entirely to the section. Similarly, explanation to the section is applicable to explanation to the section. Explanation to the subsection is applicable only to that subsection. Proviso to those subsections or clauses are applicable only to those clauses. Did you know this before today's class, or did you learn something new? Interesting, not interesting? Very good, Dhanya. Great, great. No, ma'am. Oja, you knew this? That's great. That's absolutely great. Okay. Now, last few things for understanding the act. Yeah, and it's interesting, Priya. You know what? People tend to not know this. I mean, you will stand out as a professional because of these things. When you have a clear understanding of the law is always about interpretation only, right? And interpretation may, if you will not refer correctly to the languages, you will be at problem. So as much we want you to clear the exams, we also want you to be a good professionals for people to look up to you. Okay? Perfect. Now, last thing before I close this act part, some clauses would be like notwithstanding anything contained. These are called non-obstinate clause. These are called non-obstinate clause. That means ye clause is over and above everything. Matlab, whatever is written anywhere, this clause has a lot of importance. This clause has a lot of importance. You cannot overrule this clause. Matlab, what is written in the section is written in the section. But non-obstinate clause may, what is written, it can be conflict to other sections also, but this will be there. This has to be there. This has the power to it. Okay. Anything contained in other segment is fine, but this holds the relevance. Okay. This is a very powerful section when a section starts with notwithstanding anything contained in any other provision or the act. Okay. Sorted. So proviso, provision clear, explanation clear, clauses, subclauses, sections, subsections, all sorted. Kahin pe there is any difference? Any problem? So now when you will read your study material, it would be like, we know this is pretty sorted. Perfect, Oja. Very nice. Now, I'll not go deep into interpretation rules and things. That is slowly and slowly we'll understand. But just one more thing, final thing relating to Act and law. Whenever you're studying the Finance Act, a new thing has come. Make a rule of it. Okay, a new thing has come. I have to understand it. But if you have a conflict, read why this thing has come. If you will know why about a particular section, that kya concept tha, kyun laya gaya, you will understand that concept pretty easily. If you know why or what was the problem or what was the intent of the law of the government to introduce it, you will understand what is written, right? So whenever there is finance bill, there are memorandum to the finance bill. If they're bringing any amendments, the government also publishes memorandum of the finance bill, which tells you that why an amendment was there, why an amendment was introduced, what was the intention behind introducing the amendment. अब जब मुझे intention clear है, when I know what was the intention of the government, I can understand it pretty clearly ना कि what is written. I know कि government has reduced a particular change from this particular impact. Why they did this? ये समझ आ जाएगा. Because sometimes we are unable to understand कि amendment क्या है. But when we understand amendment क्यों है, when we understand the what and why behind it, we understand what is actually written. Okay? So again, have a read of reading the memorandum also if you are unable to understand the provisions. Sorted? Chalo. So this is all about the back history of understanding and how to be a good professional. Now we will come up and understand the basic definitions. So first definition is SSE, but I understand it's already 7:20 and you guys are here till from 6. Take a 10 minutes break. We'll be back in 10 minutes and have something. We'll come back and then today's class we'll understand definitions, SSE, assessment, personal, individual, HUF, AOP, ZOI companies, what all are they. And probably इसके साथ we'll focus on a few terms, how the computation of income goes. And from the next class, we'll start with the tax rates. Okay? So come back fresh and clear, and we'll start with the definitions. Thank you. So, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had your good break and had something to eat. So, now back to the focus. Right now, till now, the first 1.5 hours was all about understanding your exam, understanding the pattern, understanding what is the year. Then we understood the major things which will help us understand the income tax in general, the act, the law, the rules, the finance act, the finance bill, the circulars, notification, case laws, how you understand the law, how you read the law. That is what we have done up till very basic but very important. Now we come up to understanding certain terms which we'll be using very, very, very regularly in the income tax, which are namely assessee, assessment year, previous year, and your companies, individual HF, इन सबको क्या मतलब है क्या? What are they actually? So we'll understand that. Okay. So let's first begin with assessee. A lot of people tend to write in their exam assessee ko as taxpayer, as individual. First of all, taxpayer is still fine, but writing individual is wrong because individual is one such small type of person. So let me just bring it to here. Mm-mm. So SSC includes not only the person जिसको tax देना है income पे, it's basically any person who has to pay any sum or any tax. Sum can be any penalty, any interest, anything, any fees. That person would be called assessee. Just any person का word use किया, individual word नहीं use किया. Any person who has to pay any tax or other sum under this act is called assessee. उसके साथ साथ that means इसके साथ साथ you have any person जिसके against the proceedings are going on. Proceedings are going on. कौन सा proceeding? Assessment proceedings are going on either on his income or on any loss which is incurred or any refund or on any income of other person for which he is assessable. जिसको हम प्यार से we call it clubbing. ठीक है. सो या तो खुद का इनकम या तो इनकम ऑफ समवन एल्स बट इट इज टू बी इंक्लूडेड इन योर इनकम या तो फॉर एनी लॉस or for any refund, any assessment proceedings are going on, then also you are an assessee. Or if you are deemed to be assessee. Students, there are a lot of deeming provisions. Deeming word would be very commonly used, जिसको generally हम common parlance में we called assumed. In income tax, we'll not say assumed to be, we'll say deemed. Deemed to be. Deemed means when you're not, but you will deemed that this is the income. Suppose you are deemed owner, that means you are generally not the owner on papers, but you will be deemed to be the owner. Suppose deemed dividend, that means generally it is not seeing it as a dividend, but it would be deemed to be dividend. Or deemed assessee, which is like in general you're not assessee, but you would be deemed to be assessee. Okay, you would be assumed to be assessee. You will not write the word assumed, you will write the word deemed. Then deemed to be assessee in default. Deemed to be assessee in default. Now, what is assessee in default? So, assessee in default can be any person who has done any default. Who has done any default. A default can be of any nature. It can be of multiple nature. Default in payment of taxes, default in any provision of the act. You can be called assessee in default, or maybe you did not pay tax on dividend distribution. It can be, or you did not respond to the demand, you did not pay the advance tax, you did not collect the TDS timely, you did not deposit the TDS, you did not deducted the TDS, or you did not deposit the TDS, or you did not issued a certificate which is required. Well, there are a lot of things, some 10, 11 things. If you fail to do it, you become assessee in default. And the moment you become assessee in default, there is interest provisions, penalty provisions, and prosecutions. Interest matlab you have to give the interest on the amount due. Interest हमेशा कब आएगा पिक्चर में? When there is any amount due. These things remember, okay? Penalty, zaruri nahi hai, if any amount is due, then only there would be a penalty. Penalty can be if you have not done what is required to be done, then there would be a penalty. उसके लिए penal provisions word होता है, PENAL, penal provisions. Okay. Prosecution is when you might go to jail. When you might go to jail. So there is interest provisions, there is penal provisions, and there is prosecution provisions. Okay. साथ साथ we are understanding what the terms are. Okay. Then, so I was saying, if you're in assessing default, there can be interest, there can be penalty, there can be prosecution, and there can be all three of them. And back to it. This is what SSE is. SSE is any person who has to pay tax, any person against whom proceedings are going on, any person who is deemed to be SSE, and any person who is SSE in default is also an SSE. Now they've written every SSE is a person, but every person need not be SSE. Person की definition हम जब पढ़ेंगे, we'll see these all are person. But इनमें से SSE कौन होगा? Only either जिसपे tax payment है, जिसपे कोई proceedings है, or just anyone is deemed to be SSE, anyone who is SSE in default. Now, when you're making notes, how will you make notes? Generally, इसके you might not, but you will write SSE is equal to either tax due or proceedings there. This is how you have to remember also. This is how you'll be able to write the law. Okay, proceedings due or deemed SSE or SSE in default. All this in total is my meaning of SSE. This is how you will remember. Now, when you remember these main terms, you will be able to write it properly in exam. Law सीखने के लिए, law लिखने के लिए, only things are to remember the crux of it, the main language of it, which is non-negotiable. मतलब non-negotiable means if you have to use this language, you have to use this term. SSE in default, I cannot write in exam default SSE. That is wrong. That is purely wrong. So small things को please take care of it. So आजकल concept, basic foundation, if you will be strong, you will be able to do it. Now coming to the term assessment. Assessment क्या है? What is assessment? Basic चीजें से, if I say assessment क्या है? To analyze and evaluate, understand, conclude, right? Now, what do? You basically file the income tax return, right? File the ITR. Now, when you're filing the ITR, you are self-assessing your income. Income tax return is what? Income tax return is a statement by which you tell to the government that these are the particulars of what I've earned during the year. These are the particular of taxes. These are how the taxes is paid. Simple. ये तीन चीजें होती है. Income tax and how the tax is paid. So when you assess that income, मतलब compute that income and prepare that income by your own, that is called self-assessment. By your own or by your help of your CA, that is called self-assessment. Okay, which you do on your own while filing the return of income. Once you file the return of income, now you have given all the details to the government. You have given all the details to the government. Now, government first role is they will make a summary assessment or a preliminary assessment or a computerized based assessment, which basic on the computer data which they have. Now they have a lot of data from all the different statutory bodies. Okay, all the data which they have, the computer will match it. वहाँ पे सारे algorithms हैं. They will match the data. Okay, this information is with us. Okay, he has given that information. SSE has given this information matched. This information is with us. SSE has given this information matched. This information is not with us. SSE has given it. Fine. This information is with us. SSE has not given it. Then everything is computerized. No one is doing that on any person's behalf. Everything is computerized. That is called summary assessment. On a basic knowledge database which the computer has with it, they match it with the return which you have filed and it is done. Simple. That is summary assessment, preliminary assessment, computerized assessment, CPC के through. Okay. Then there is scrutiny assessment. जैसे word का नाम है ना scrutiny, that means detailed assessment होगा. This is again handpicked based on certain information or maybe computer picks that. They will ask the details now. They will ask the proofs now. They will ask how of it. They matlab assessment authorities. कि how this is concluded. That is also assessment. है सब assessment. See, everything is on assessment. That means on analyzing and computing your final income. But every term of assessment is different. One assessee do is self. Once computer do is summary. Now the officer comes into picture. What the officer do is called scrutiny assessment. Now another type of assessment is Best judgment assessment. Best judgment assessment. Now, as the name is suggesting, best judgment assessment means मैं अपनी बेस्ट नॉलेज के थ्रू असेस कर रही हूँ. कौन? Assessing officer. Assessing officer does not have the complete information. You as an assessee did not cooperate with them. Now they will be doing it as per their own will and wish. That is called best judgment assessment. And then there is reassessment or income escaping assessment. This is very, very strict assessment. 147 mein, if you are paso, then it is very difficult to come out. Here there are a lot of penal provisions also. Here prosecution can also come, because this means that there is some mischief which you have done on a big scale. That's why you are caught hold of. This is called income escaping assessment. And reassessment matlab, any of this assessment has been done before, but now they are reassessing it. Now some information has come to their knowledge that because of some huge amount of tax has been evaded, then they reassess it. But this is just a 5-7 minute summary to tell you in detail. This chapter holds a lot of importance. Assessment procedure, which ma'am told you, usme everything is covered in detail, timelines, process, etc., etc. That is very, very interesting also, and very, very important also. Okay? But for you, at this knowledge, assessment kya hai? Computing and determining the income and the tax on it. Sorted? Oh, sharing हट गया. अभी तक एनी डाउट किसी को? अच्छा, sorry, I had questions on other part also, on the other portal also. Mohammed Yusuf, technique to remember the sections I told you. Just simply write those sections, section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, common wale at least. Write those sections, make a list of it, stick it somewhere, you see it every day. Aate jate, once you will remember it, you will remember it. When you're doing the question, definitely quote the section. When you're talking about it with a friend, quote the section. I have a habit of quoting the section all the time. All the time. Whenever I'm doing TDS provisions at my office also, we'll not say rent. We say 194I. So we know that we're talking about 194I. Start quoting the sections in your daily communications. Okay. Madhavan says full case law, how to search for it. Supreme Court website. Supreme Court website में नहीं होता. Journals में आता है. ITR journals से आते हैं. You can write the case law name. Google में today आजकल there are a lot of databases which maintain case laws. That's how you can judge it. But at your level, Madhavan, all the important ones are there in your study material or the statutory update, which will come later. Thank you so much, Mohammed Yusuf, Hardik. Notwithstanding subject to next. Subject to means, if I'm saying this provision is subject to a condition, that means which condition hai that has to be fulfilled. Notwithstanding means that whatever is written in other part of the section, this section will prevail as it is. If there is any contradiction of it, this will prevail. This is the most important thing. Maybe somewhere it is written that it would not be taxed, but notwithstanding anything written, that means उस सबको छोड़ दो, जो इस सेक्शन में लिखा है वो मेन रहेगा for that particular section and it will prevail. Okay? Hardik, is it clear? Any other doubt if I've left? Achha, again, one more thing. If I leave any of your question, before we end up every class, I'll ask again for 4-5 minutes, what are your doubts? Please, if I leave any question by mistake or by oversight, please write it again. Okay? Now we come to the meaning of person. जो हम सबको लगता है, we know that, but we don't know. Honestly, let's just face it. Okay. अब यहाँ पे everywhere it's written person, 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 person. Daily parlance में we understand कि person is who? Person is me and you. मतलब any human being, right? Now, but person actually, as per the definition, this is also written in the Income Tax Act as per section 2, clause 31, not subsection. Okay? So clause 31 mein definition of person is written, and it says that these are the seven type of things who are person in the income tax: individual, HUF, company, firm, AOP, BOI, local authority, and artificial juridical person. Now, how many of you honestly know the differences between all of them? मेरे को आते हैं 90% आते हैं. How many of you know the differences between all of them? Like who is a company, who is an AOP, artificial juridical person, and how many of you honestly don't know? That's okay if you don't know, because that's what we are here for. आता है, सबको आता है. Interestingly, skip कर दूं then सबको आता है. If everyone knows, Danya, you know this? Poonam, AJP. Anila, you know AJP? Stephen? अच्छा, AJP, I know. Okay. Perfect. Array, obviously, Neela, I'll explain, not one. So, individual is what we as human beings are. Like Rakesh is an individual, Mahesh is an individual, Ridhima is an individual, Oja is an individual. Everyone, any person who is existing is an individual. Okay? That is a person. HUF is an Hindu undivided family. इसको ध्यान से सुनना. Hindu undivided family. Now, Hindu undivided family is a way old concept. This is not coming from the Income Tax Act, honestly. But look, the family wala part, this is from the Hindu Succession Act. Earlier, what used to happen, if you go back and realize in 1960s or 70s era, there was one family who used to do all the business, right? Family का business होता था, ना कि एक particular individual का. The entire family used to do the business and they used to then stay happy together, etc., right? Eventually now that is maybe at a lesser level, but if you see the old shops in Chandni Chowk or anywhere, they were all HUF because that was not one person ka business, family ka business. Now, income tax, how should they tax the family? Because everyone is doing business, everyone is earning out of it, right? How will we know ki how much is an income of this person, how much is an income of this person? So, HUF is a separate entity which was created for the taxation purpose in the income tax. HUF income tax purpose के लिए born हुआ, मतलब एक as such कुछ concept नहीं है legal entity wise, but separate entity is there for tax purpose where the family itself is taxed. Where the family itself is taxed. So family में क्या होगा? There would be a karta who we call as manager, and then there are co-partners and members. So I'll not go deep dive into the concept of that, but to tell you, co-partners are the person who are born in that family by birth, by blood, and members can be the part of the family. For example, the eldest of the eldest male, female, like eldest member of the family is the karta. Okay? Until and unless eldest member do not want to be the karta, but by the law, eldest member is the karta. Now, his wife would be a member, not co-partner. Why? Because she's a part of the family, but she was not born into the family. ठीक है. So member और co-partners में बस इतना फर्क है. But Karta's son would be a co-partner because he was born into that family. Okay. So co-partner, all co-partners are members, but all members are not co-partners. So ये term जब आप लिख रहे हो कहीं पे भी एक्ट में, please be very careful. Karta is the manager, the main representative of that family, and others are co-partners and members. So instead of taxing थोड़ा थोड़ा amount from Karta, co-partners and members, इन्होंने concept बना लिया, let's tax it from the HUF. So HUF is a separate entity than Karta and co-partners. So whatever that family is running through that earning through that common business or the common property would be taxed in the hands of family. Family will pay the tax on it. Karta co-partner members might be getting share out of it, but they are different. So Karta from income tax purpose के लिए Karta will be an individual who would be taxed on his income, and family would be a separate entity which would be taxed on their income. Sorted? Now, next we come to company. Now, company is very important. See, identifying the right person is very important because act में ना कहीं जगह लिखा होगा every person, but at some places it might be written every individual in HF. So you mean you will understand that this provision is not applicable for every person. This provision is applicable only for individual in HF. Similarly, it might be written company, but company may be some places where it might be written every company. Some places where it might be written domestic company, foreign company, Indian company. So you have to understand these small differences to understand कि the law is applicable to which entity. Now coming to company. HF में किसी को कोई doubt? All sorted? Basic understanding है HF की, पूरा act नहीं पढ़ रहे हम, okay? We're not studying the entire act, but a basic understanding. Sorted? Thank you so much, Oja. Okay. Now, where were we? On the company part. Now, company में वैसे company is what? What do you understand by the term company? Company, we understand that company is any corporate entity, right? हम company समझते हैं any company either which is registered under the Companies Act 2013. How are companies born? Individuals are born by birth. HUF by conduct. HUF का कुछ as such लीगल अग्रीमेंट नहीं बनता, वो फैमिली के नाम पे प्रॉपर्टी होती है. बाय कंडक्ट दे आर फॉर्म. कंपनीज आर इनकॉर्पोरेटेड. Whenever you're using the word company, you will not say company is born. Company is incorporated. That means it is born by the law under the Companies Act 2013 in India. Earlier it was Companies Act 1956. ठीक है. So company में कौन कौन आएगा? Any company. Company, Indian company, foreign company, everyone would be a part of company. Any company or any institution or any body of corporate which is born under any corporate law which was in India is a company, or which is ordered by CBDT that we will consider it as a company is a company. Okay. But a company may, you will see the term very commonly used, domestic company and foreign company. Domestic and foreign company. Now, why this classification is important? Again, somewhere it would be the tax rates. Tax rates are different for domestic company, tax rates are different for foreign company. Somewhere it would be written domestic company, these beneficial schemes are there. Somewhere it would be written just company. When it is written just company, that means domestic and foreign both. Now, whenever it is written domestic company only, then domestic company में कौन आएगा? Domestic मतलब Indian. वैसे basically to समझना Indian company. Which is Indian company? Which is born as per the Indian Companies Act. Either 1956 वाला act or 2013 वाला act. And that is your Indian company. And जिसका principal place of office is in India. जिसका principal place of office is in India. If not under this act or under any corporate law which was, or any company law which was there for any particular region or which was there in India for any respective type. ठीक है? That is that. Now, फॉरेन कंपनी कौन सी होगी? जो इंडिया से बाहर इनकॉर्पोरेटेड है. जैसे यूएस की कोई कंपनी है फॉरेन कंपनी, सऊदी की कोई कंपनी है फॉरेन कंपनी, एनी कंपनी विच इज नॉट इनकॉर्पोरेटेड एज पर इंडियन लॉ. बट इंडियन कंपनी एंड डोमेस्टिक कंपनी में व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस? व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन इंडियन कंपनी एंड अ डोमेस्टिक कंपनी? डोमेस्टिक में इंडियन आ रहा है, तो एक और कंपनी यहाँ पे क्या है? डोमेस्टिक कंपनी में a foreign company can be a domestic company if this part, please listen carefully. A foreign company can be a domestic company if it's make arrangements for paying, for declaring and paying dividend within India out of the income chargeable to tax in India. मतलब if they are making any arrangements of paying and declaring dividend. What do you mean by making an arrangement of paying and declaring dividend in India? That is when you have your principal place of business in India, the principal office is in India, the shareholder meeting is happening in India, and the dividend which is being declared, that meeting is happening in India, and the dividend which is being distributed is received in India. That is when we called that the arrangement for declaring and payment of dividend is within India. So, yani a domestic company, if I have to say, a domestic company will have Indian company in it, or it will have a foreign company with making arrangements of dividend paying and declaring in India. Then that foreign company will also be called domestic company. ठीक है? Sorted? Clear? Class of company clear? But Indian company mein na, there is this one more distribution which is there, or I'll say certain provisions which are there, which is applicable, is for company which is further categorized on public interest basis. On public interest basis. Now, public interest basis matlab what? इसको हम कहते हैं क्लोजली हेल्ड कंपनी और वाइडली हेल्ड कंपनी. क्लोजली हेल्ड और wildly held companies. Now, why this is important? Now, again, certain provisions, again, like section set of May, there are provisions which are there for closely held companies. Some benefits are there for widely held companies. So we have to see as per that. Generally, हम क्या बोलते हैं कंपनी लॉ में पब्लिक कंपनी और प्राइवेट कंपनी है वही, बट इनकम टैक्स में we call it as closely held company और widely held company. Closely held और वाइडली हेल्ड, जिसमें पब्लिक सब्सटैंशियली इंटरेस्टेड होगी, दैट इज कॉल्ड वाइडली हेल्ड कंपनी. Where the public is substantially interested, that is widely held. जिसको we commonly call as public company, but that is wrong. So you will not write the term public company when you are writing income tax में. You will write either widely held company or company in which public are substantially interested. Sorted? Then जो दूसरा कैटेगरी हो गया वो क्लोजली हेल्ड हो गया, जिसको हम प्राइवेट कहते हैं. बट इसमें what all are included? Simple. Any company which is either owned by the government or RBI or both in common with at least 40% of holding, that is your closely held widely held company. Widely held company में क्या क्या आएगा? First we're reading that. गवर्नमेंट आरबीआई वाला जिसमें 40% गवर्नमेंट का स्टेक होगा, वेदर सिंगली और टोटल. ठीक है. देन एनपीओज वाला जो आपका सेक्शन 8 कंपनीज होती है, सेक्शन 8 कंपनीज ऑफ your Companies Act 2013 or section 25 companies of 1956 company, which are basically for promoting commerce, etc., which is your NPOs, commerce, education, social welfare, charity, etc., etc. And generally they do not distribute any dividend, they are not for profit. Then company with no share capital. There is no share capital and CBDT declare it as a company in which public are substantially interested for certain years. That is your widely held company. Then mutual benefit company होती है निधि companies or mutual benefit companies. These are specifically registered as nidhi societies or mutual benefit societies. These are basically where contribution, they take it contribution and then they give it like committee. On common sense और किटी वाला चीज जो होता है ना, that is something similar in your निधि और mutual benefit society. ठीक है. Then cooperative society ownership, where at least 50% of the holding is with corporate societies, that is your widely held company. Then obviously listed company is your widely held company. Your listed company is your widely held company. Then along with that, जब मेरा 50% गवर्नमेंट के पास हो, स्टैट्यूटरी कॉर्पोरेशन के पास हो या किसी और वाइडली हेल्ड कंपनी के पास हो, देन आई एम अगेन वाइडली हेल्ड कंपनी. एंड लास्ट, companies which are not private company but they have at least 40% voting power and they are industrial companies. 40% voting power is with the government or statutory corporation or widely held company, but they are your इंडस्ट्रियल कंपनीज लाइक कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ शिप्स में है वो, या माइनिंग में है इधर, और इन जनरेशन ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है, और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और प्रोसेसिंग ऑफ गुड्स है, then 40% ownership will make you a widely held company. Otherwise 50% ownership will make you a widely held company. Difference समझ आया in point number? Sorry. So if you are into the business, I'll say like that. If you are into an industrial business, then 40% ownership, all of them combined, will make you a widely held company. If you're not into any such business, then 50% ownership at least by all of them combined or singly will make you a widely held company. Simple, sorted. और closely held company क्या हुई? जो widely held company नहीं है, that would be a closely held company. Coming to some questions. Any doubt? Companies में मतलब में कहीं doubt? I think someone had a question. Company formed in union territories under the purview of company. See, company formed under in any union territory. No, the company formed under the act होता है first of all. Company is formed under the Companies Act either 1956 or 2013. अब उसका place of business इंडिया में है, यूनियन टेरिटरी में है, Stephen, it is very much a company, very much an Indian company, and all Indian companies are domestic companies, but all domestic companies are not Indian companies. I am repeatedly saying, most of you might lose interest saying कि मैम ये तो एग्जाम में नहीं आएगा, probably ना आए, मतलब 90% chances है नहीं आए, but these provisions will help you understand the law better. Do not take it lightly. 3 hours है, अच्छे से dedicate दे दो आज, ठीक है? बस और कुछ नहीं. Sorted? चले आगे. Perfect. Now, where were we? We were to understand what are the different types of person. Where we understood now individual, HUF, company. Company is a person. Then company में there are classifications: foreign company, domestic company. Domestic company is further classified as Indian company or foreign company with arrangement for making payment of dividend in India. Then there is another term called widely held company or closely held company. Widely held means public, जैसे आप generally समझते हो, but otherwise इसमें government companies भी आती है. Closely held companies are those which are not widely held. Okay, simple. Any doubt? Sorted? Perfect. Now we'll move forward to understand firm क्या है. What is firm? Firm again registered होती है. Firm registered होती है as per Partnership Act. Just like HUF has members, company has shareholders, firm has partners. But again, like HUF is a separate entity, their members are separate taxable entity. Company is different, shareholder is different. Company will pay taxes on its profit, shareholder will pay taxes on their income. Similarly, firm is different, partners are different. Different matlab different taxable entity. Firm will pay taxes on its income, which is being run through the business, which is ultimately being controlled and managed by the partners. Partners will pay taxes on their income. Simple. Sorted? So firms are managed by partners. Now, firm would be registered as per the Partnership Act. Firm का अगर technical meaning बने तो वो होता है it's a partnership is a relationship between two or more person who agree to share the profits of business carried by all or one of them acting for all. Okay? Sorted? Though partnership deed के through you run into a partnership firm. But you have to submit the deed with the income tax once in your first year of return, and you then carry on the business, and then any changes are there, you have to tell it to the income tax authorities. But yes, Oja, you can say it that this chapter is a base which will help you understand to become a better chartered accountant, which will help you understand, read the other provisions clearly. And trust me, just listen to this chapter. I will not say, dedicate again 3 hours to it. Just listen to it chapter, give the read to the study material, and you're good to go. And you are good to go. Okay. You might not have to revisit, and not this chapter, particularly this class, because next chapter is next class, which is a part of this chapter, is very important, where we'll be calculating the tax, which is the main bread and butter of everyone. Okay. Now coming to firm, a firm may from past few years, not few, probably more than a decade. Another term is called LLP, Limited Liability Partnership. If only firm is written in the act, that means LLP and partnership firm both. Partnership firm, which is as per the Partnership Act 1932, and LLP, which is formed as per the LLP Act 2008. दोनों आएंगी. कहीं जगह only partnership firm would be there, and that just spaces your section 44 AD, where only partnership firm is there, LLP is not there. But that would be written clearly in explanation. That would be written clearly in explanation or the proviso. Okay? So please read the act properly. Company word पढ़ा तो company पूरा, all companies, foreign, Indian सब. Domestic पढ़ा तो domestic only. Firm पढ़ा तो both LLP and partnership firm both. ठीक है? So LLP and partnership firm में difference क्या है? Simple सा है. LLP is more secured. It has a feature of both companies and partnership. यहाँ पे limited liability is there of the partners, unlike partnership firm में, whereas there is a several liability, jointly and several liability. Now, interestingly, यहाँ तक तो सबको पता होता है, but these three coming up next: artificial juridical person, local authorities, AOP, BOIs में people get confused. Now, AOP, BOIs क्या? Now, so firm, when it's formed, is not formed with the intention of a short-term project. It is formed as a going concern, right? But AOPs and BOIs are when 2 people or 3 people come for a project, or they are not a family member, they are not forming company, they are coming as a joint venture, or they are probably having a joint venture, then they are recognized as AOP. Matlab, they are commonly doing a business, but they are not getting themselves registered maybe as a firm or as a company, but together they are running a business. Then उस business को कैसे tax करोगे? Because again, it's a together business, not just one person. So that business is taxed as a separate entity, or that profits are taxed as a separate entity of AOP or BOI. AOP means association of person. BOI means body of individual. Now, if you're smart enough till now, I have been focusing on the word, that focus on the word person, individual. दोनों में there is just one difference. Both is any association or any joint venture or any coming together of 2 people for a project or for sharing some profit, but not with an intent of partnership. It's an association. They might be earning profit or might not be earning profit. They might be registered or they might not be registered. But they are coming together for a common motive. They are coming together for a common motive. Then that is called AOP BOI. But दोनों में फर्क क्या है? AOP can be of person, any person. That means an HUF can come together, a firm can come together, and an individual can come together and do an association to do a business. ठीक है? Body of individual में क्या होगा? Only individuals will be coming together. So यहाँ पे only BOI में only individuals are there. AOP में it can be both. It can be any person. It can be any person. Okay? And the persons who are running AOP BOI or who are the part of the AOP BOI are called members. Again, members of AOP are different taxable entity, and AOP BOI are different taxable entity. In most of the places, we commonly call them AOP only, right? BOIs are prefer कर सकते हो, we commonly call it AOP. In assessment of entities chapter, which is a very important chapter, there they have discussed the taxation of all these persons separately, how companies are taxed, how firms are taxed, how AOP BOI are taxed, and this is very important because no one actually put an understanding on AOP BOIs. A trust क्या है? Any trust is what? If I have to say a trust or a cooperative society, so a cooperative society, now anything, उसको I cannot define it as individual, I cannot define it as HUF, I cannot define it as firm. They are all part of AOP. Trust, people came together for some common motive. Trust में ये है. It can be a benefit of some person, it can be a benefit of beneficiary, right? Trust is an AOP. The funds, these are all AOPs. Now, what is local authority? What is local authority? A local authority is any district body, any committee, municipal committee, district body, or any port commissioners. They are local authority. They are local authority which are legally entrusted by the government to do a control and management of a municipality or of a fund. They are local authority, panchayat, absolutely right. Municipalities like Delhi mein MCD is there, that is local authority. Bombay mein it's BMC, Birmingham Mumbai Corporation, right? That is the local authority. Okay. Last is AJP, artificial juridical person. Generally, they say which is not identified in any of this, that would be artificial juridical person. No, artificial juridical person means that they have a standing. They are somewhere is an entity in the law, but we cannot say it's a trust or it's an AOP. Why? Because they are formed under any statutory law. They are formed under any act and they are being born like universities, or your council, bar councils, or etc. These are your artificial juridical person. Okay, do not say this is a residual juridical person. Sorted? Any doubt now in any of the term? Why identifying the person is very important. The first step in computation of income is identifying the person. जब किसकी return file कर रहे हो? Firm की, उसके partner की, firm और partner, that is different. HUF or its member, company or the shareholder or the director or AOP or the member or individual. So based on that, you choose the correct form. So the first step is identifying the individual rightly. Second step is identifying the residential status of these people correctly. That is your next chapter, I guess, in your study material, or it is already covered at level 1. Then only the NR wala part is covered in your non-resident taxation module. Okay? Then you determine the residential status. Now, based on that residential status, second, AOP BY zaruri nahi hai beta, it should be registered. It can be non-registered also. So the first step is identifying the correct person. Then is identifying the residential status. Based on that residential status, you will come to the scope of income. Scope of income matlab ki what all income would be taxed in the hand of that person. What all income would be taxed in the hand of that person. आगे से everyone would be writing the term person if you're referring to all of them in general. You will not write the term individual or not write particularly any other taxpayer, write person. Okay. So scope of income defined ho gaya. Now once the scope of income is defined, you segregate that income under various heads. There are 5 heads. I hope you all know. Sometime back, I was teaching a final year student and I asked what are the 5 heads of income, and sadly, that child did not know. And that's totally okay because he might not be practicing or doing an articleship in tax, but now you should know the 5 heads of income in proper chronology is first salary, income from salary, income from house property, income from profits and gains of business or profession, which we all call as PGBP, income from capital gain, and our residuary head, which is income from other sources. Right? I will not be telling you कि बस ये 5 head है. Let's discuss them at length for 5 minutes. Basically, क्या है? Important thing है. Now, what type of income would be taxed in which head is told by the charging section. Now, have a habit to always refer to the charging section. Charging section will tell you that under this head, what income would come. Like salary का charging section would tell you कि salary में कौन सा income आएगा. House property का charging section will tell you house property में कौन सा income है. PGBP का charging section 28 will tell you कि what all income are there in PGBP. इसका charging section is 22. इसका charging section is 45. कि what all income would come under these particular heads. If the charging section you are not covered, that means you are not going to tax that income in that particular head. salary को tax करने के लिए, if you have to tax any income under the head salary, what is the important thing which you have to see? 17 is corporate salary, I think it's 14 or 15 if I'm not wrong. 15. Political parties in general are your AOPs because they are not identified as such, and then they qualify as per the other parts which they have, or the other provisions which are applicable to them. Very good question. So salary के लिए, what is important that you should charge it either on the due or receipt basis, whichever is earlier, and there should be a master-servant relationship. That means there should be an employer-employee relationship. Only then the income would be taxed under salary. Just by saying it as salary does not make it a salary income. मतलब the person who is paying the income and person who is receiving the income should have a employer-employee relationship. For example, partner's salary is not taxed under the head salary. Why? Because between the partner and between the partnership firm, it's not an employer-employee relationship. Partner, part owner, if you divide it, right? They are the part owner of the firm. So partner salary is not taxed as salary income because the employer-employee relationship is missing. It is your PGBP income because you're receiving that income because of the doing the business as part owner of the firm. Okay. Similarly, MLA salary or MLA salaries are not your MP salaries or MLA salaries are not your salary to be taxed under this particular head. It is your other sources because member of parliament and the government is not employee. Member of parliament are representatives of the people, so they are not employee. They are whatever they're receiving is as a representative of the people, so that is other sources. But yes, if you're working in any ministry of finance, if you're an employee of the government, then definitely that is your salary. Then definitely that is your salary. ठीक है, सैलरी में हमेशा ये याद रखना. हाउस प्रॉपर्टी में व्हाट यू हैव टू टेक केयर, हाउस प्रॉपर्टी में यू हैव टू टेक केयर दैट ओनरशिप शुड बी देयर प्लस a building or a building structure should be there or a property should be there, in the sense that at least a four structured, four walls and one roof thing should be there, and you should be the owner of it to tax the annual value. Annual value tax hoti hai na isme, right? To tax the annual value of it under house property. Salary in house property definitely is not part in detail for your level, but you should know the provisions in relation to house property very importantly. Why? Because house property का एक question का part हो सकता है, that comprehensive question का part can be income related to house property. So you should know के annual value, what is annual value, standard deduction, municipal taxes, this all you should know. Okay, so give that read. So annual value कब tax होगा? When you are the owner of that property and there is a property. In the sense, it can be commercial property, it can be residential property, but there should be a structure of it. There should be a structure. Vacant lands, if you're having any rent, that does not goes into house property, that goes into your other sources. That goes into your other sources. Okay? Ownership is very important. If I am subletting, I am not the owner, I am subletting something and I'm receiving rent on it. That is not my house property income. That is my other sources income because I am not the owner. So the charging section says that you should be the owner and you should there should be a building or a property, right? Then section 28 means there's a proper list that whatever you are having profits, gains from the business, profession or vocation, along with other things which are related to business, there is a proper list of clauses which tells then that would be your PGBP income. That would be your PGBP income and you have to tax it as your income under the head PGBP. Then capital gain mein they say there should be a capital asset. First thing, very important, which should be transferred. So transfer is a triggering event for capital gain to be taxed and it is taxed in the year of transfer. So there should be a capital asset and that should be transferred and obviously you should be the owner of that asset. Apart from it, any income which does not qualify under head 1, 2, 3, 4, that is salary, house property, PGBP or capital gain, it will go under the head other sources, which is my residuary head. There is no form. See, charging sections tell you what is to be taxed. But apart from it, there is no formula that all types of income would be of one particular person would be taxed in that particular head. For example, one income can be a PGBP income for me, but it can be a capital gain income for you. For example, I am regularly trading in shares. Intent is regularity to run it as a business. Then those shares are not my investment, they are my stock in trade. So, whatever income I'm having would be my business income, but you are holding those shares as investment. Then that share is your capital asset, and then that transfer would result in capital gain. Would result in capital gain. Cars and vehicles, then renting is my regular business. Then vehicles, say whatever rent is coming would be my PGBP income. But if you rent a vehicle, a one-time thing, renting of a machinery is your other sources in is your other source of income. So charging sections definitely have to be seen, but along with that, the intent has to be seen to charge it under that particular head. Sorted. Now, once all these are accumulated, you get your gross total income after, just 1 second, gross total income after having the impact of clubbing and set of carry forward. So whatever you will get would be your other sources income. Sorry, whatever you will get would be your gross total income. Sorry, my bad. 1 second, hang ho jata hai. Now, obviously in detail, PGBP is covered, capital gain. These two are like your main crux of the first module. इसको तो आप you cannot say कि हमें नहीं आता. ये अच्छे से you have to do it. Other sources is also very important. And then set of clubbing, you can give it a read, okay? Then you will come to gross total income. From gross total income, you will give impact of chapter 6A. So if you'll see your income tax act, the Bare Act, that is also going in this chronology. First, they're telling you about the basic concepts, then they're telling you about the residential status, then they're telling you about the scope of income. Act भी ऐसे ही चल रहा है. Flipping of pages is in this order only. Then they cover one after another heads of income. Then they cover your set of carry forward and clubbing. And then they cover your chapter 6A, which is your deductions. Then deductions के बाद you come to your total taxable income, जिस पे you apply tax. Now, this total income with tax would be there or as per normal provisions, as per special provisions. So next class we will start on the total income part, and then we'll talk about the tax. I'm not wrapping up the class, don't worry. I'm just telling you this is how the total income is computed and the total tax is computed. And then you pay that tax either through your self-assessment or through advance tax or through credits of TDS, TCS. Then payment of taxes related are chapters in the row. Then once you file the return, then assessment procedures, the related chapters are there. Then once you complete the assessment procedures, then there are chapters regarding appeals, judgments, judgment as in appeals and penalties, etc., etc. This is how your income tax is completely over. वैसे तो 298 sections है. If you see from numbering, section 1 to section 298, if I'm not wrong. But actually, में sections, total number of sections बोलो तो there are around 900 some sections. Because chronology में there is section 290, then 291 होगा. बीच में there might be 290A. I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. Okay, so you have to go it one by one, okay? So this is how you will cover, but do not worry. All I'm trying to say is step by step, if you will be able to study income tax, you will be able to love it. I honestly love income tax and that's why I'm here. But income tax से मेरे को relatability बहुत हुआ. When I was studying, when I was doing audit, when I was practicing it, when I was bookkeeping it, everywhere I tried to relate to income tax, and that is how I was able to understand. Okay? Now, we come to the last concept of the evening and we'll then wrap it up. उससे पहले anyone has any doubt or any of your doubt is not answered? ये हो जाएगा हाई फाइव. एक बार हाउस प्रॉपर्टी को quickly just go through it so that all the concept related to house property is clear. I think very smartly they've covered up entire information because otherwise house property is not your chapter, right? Perfect. Now, to the last topic of the evening, which is the concept of previous year and assessment year. इसमें आप बोलोगे कि मैम क्या समझाने वाले हैं? See, all the questions for you would be based for all my May 25 students would be based on previous year 24-25, and that means assessment year 25-26. But what is the concept of previous year assessment year? First of all, तीनों में फर्क क्या होता है? There is financial year, which is called fiscal year. This is more of an accounting terms. Then there is previous year, and then there is assessment year. What is the difference between all? So fiscal year is an year which the country economics follow in general. For example, in India, we follow the financial year for maintaining the books, which is from April to March. Dubai mein, it is the calendar year. Obviously, CY is the calendar year, which is your January to December. Dubai mein, they follow the calendar year. I think US mein, they follow the year which is from July to June or June to May, if I'm not wrong. Some countries have fiscal year as calendar year, some countries have fiscal year as April to March, some countries have fiscal year separately. So the books of accounts of the companies or of the economics or the any entity would be followed by fiscal year. Okay. But previous year is a purely term which is for the income tax purpose. Previous or preceding में फर्क है. Whenever in the income tax we're referring to preceding year, that means पिछला साल. But previous year means the year in question, that is the year in which you earned the income. Yes, you can say it is the year in which you earned it. Previous year is the financial year in which you earn the income, and yes, technically it starts from April to March. But suppose I've started earning an income in December. I started my business on 1st December itself, then 1st December से लेके 31st March would be my previous year. ठीक है? So where you are earning the income, that is your previous year. That income, when assessed, is called the assessment year. The year in which the income which is earned in the previous year is assessed is called the assessment year, and it is generally immediately followed by the previous year itself. So previous उसका नाम इसलिए पड़ा because it was previous to the assessment year. Okay, so the year in which you earn the income is previous year, in which you assess the income. Assess the income means file the return, pay the taxes. Because once the year is over, then only you will be able to assess the income. जब मुझे April to March का period जब खत्म होगा, then only I will able to know what I've earned during the year, and then only able to tell to the government that this is what I've earned during the year. This is the taxes on it. Right. So every previous year has its assessment year, which is the immediate next year. So for previous year 24-25, the assessment year always be 25-26. Similarly, for previous year 25-26, the assessment year would be 26-27. Right now, we are in the previous year 24-25. Yes, but also an assessment year 24-25 is going on, which is for the previous year 23-24, where all the incomes earned in the previous year 23-24 are being filed as return for the assessment year 24-25. ठीक है, इसलिए इस टाइम पे जो आप रिटर्न फाइल करते हो दैट इज फॉर द प्रीवियस ईयर विच जस्ट क्लोज्ड ऑन March 24. And preceding previous year, preceding financial year is the one which is immediate to the previous year. All the residential status which you determined are for the previous year, are not for the assessment year, because income which is assessed in the previous year itself. So residential status previous year का निकलता है, assessment year का नहीं. Similarly, rates which are applicable are for the previous year itself. This is the general rule, but there is one exception to it. There is one exception to it, not one, there are 5 exceptions rather to the general rule. General rule क्या कहते हैं that all previous year income would be taxed in the assessment year. But exception कहता है कि the previous year income would be assessed in the previous year itself. When these 5 situations are there, when these 5 situations are there in that year, my previous year would be assessment year. That means I have to file the return or return नहीं तो एक statement, and I have to close all the final taxes in the previous year itself. Now, this can come as a theoretical question or can come as a case law based question to you. So please listen carefully. General rule is previous year is different, assessment year is different. Previous assessment year is followed by the previous year. In assessment year, you give the information of the details of the details which of the income which are earned in the previous year. Now exception में previous year में ही आप previous year की details दोगे, tax file करोगे, assess the income. किसके लिए? Shipping business of non-resident. Now this is under section 172. Now there is this section 172. Whenever any foreign ship, whenever any non-resident ship is coming to India, okay, they come and they can either carry passengers or they can carry goods, anything. They will come to any port. Port hote, there are ports in Visakhapatnam, there is port in Gujarat, there is port in various places. They come on that port. Now, before leaving the port, they have to pay 7.5%, 7.5% of the freight. They have to take it as their final income, and they have to pay the taxes under section 172, which is shipping of non-resident. And then only they get a clearance, and then only they're allowed to leave. And then only they are allowed to leave. 7.5% of the freight, whatever they're earning on that person or goods, etc., they have to pay, get a clearance certificate. तभी उनसे port authorities तभी उनको they allowed to leave. So this is the concept. Now this is coming as an exception because otherwise क्या होता अगर कोई normal non-resident not non-resident, अगर Indian company होती, Indian shipping company होती, what they would have done, they would have been carrying passengers to and fro, etc. But they would have paid taxes when in the next year, when the year would have over and assessment year would have begun, then they would have paid the final assessment and closed their income. But for a non-resident shipping, we do not know when they will come back again. So that's why they're coming to India, and that's why they're earning income because they're coming to India. So on that freight, they're getting the tax and then they're allowing it to leave. Simple, makes sense. Then person leaving India. Now this particularly I have done because I had luckily I had an exposure in international taxation. Now what happens is they have to obtain a NOC from authorities. Now suppose I talk about Mr. X. Mr. X came to India not for tourism, not all one are included here, all tourist name, but for on assignment here for 3 years. Okay. Now his 3 years are getting over today. Now his 3 years are getting over today. Now whatever he has earned till your previous year, 23-24, definitely he must have filed the return of it in assessment year 24-25, right? But now what he has earned from the period April 24 to October 24, right? Which is still date in India. How will Indian authorities believe that if he will leave India, he will go back to his home country, say China, and he will file the return from there? Because 6 महीने का income तो earn कर लिया, right? And he is leaving India for good. His assignment is over, and now he's leaving India for good. Now, technically, all the income tax return forms and all the procedure opens only in the next year, right? When the assessment year will begin, then only he would be able to file. But now he's leaving India today. Then what will happen? So before his assignment is over, generally Big Four gets a lot of business out of it. They get a business. They have to get an NOC from his AO that he's leaving India, but this is his income for that period. This is April to October wala period. This is his income, and these are his taxes. And all the responsibility of filing his return is on this person who is in India or on this company. So do not worry, you will get everything in your due course. If you want, we can submit all the taxes. All the taxes are deposited through TDS. Do not worry. These are all his income details. Do not worry. Then, if assessing officer is satisfied, they will give them the NOC. Okay, this person is free to leave India. And most of the time, immigration officers, they demand for this NOC when you are leaving India. So this is a very crucial document because airport pe ya port authorities, they ask for this NOC. Again, this is not for someone who is a tourist, and if every tourist will not obtain an NOC. Someone who came to India, earned income for India, and now is leaving mid-year. So for those employees, NOC is very important, or for those person, NOCs are very important. Okay? Any doubt? इसका प्रॉपर प्रोसेस होता है. यू गो टू द ऑफिसर, गिव हिम द डिटेल्स, प्रॉपर फाइल बन के जाता है, एंड देन ऑन बेसिस ऑफ दैट दे इशू द एनओसी. बट दे गिव एनओसी प्रीटी क्लियरली इफ दे नो ऑल द information is documented, TDS is submitted, then they give the information very easily. Danya, this is very interesting. Whenever you're leaving India, whenever you're leaving immigration pay, whenever you're there, there's a proper inquiry. They ask the visit purpose, they ask the return tickets. And when the passport is of some other authority or some other country, then they have different questions. What was your purpose here? If you're here on work visa, then definitely they will ask all those things. There can be a narrow chance of escape, but I have seen people getting stuck at airport, missing their flights because they did not have NOC. And this is not something which I'm exaggerating. This is true. Okay. Or कौन सा exception है? What are we covering? We are covering the exception in which the previous itself you have to assess the income of the previous year, and then only you're allowed to move freely. Obviously, next exception बहुत commonly understood है of AOP BOI juridical person formed for a particular event or purpose. Obviously, I know that I know as in the assessing officer knows that this particular AOP was formed for a 2.5 year period. Now, once they will complete the project, they will dismiss. So before, or maybe this AOP is formed for a particular event. So the authority wants that before it get dissolved, they recover their taxes. They recover their taxes. So authority will make sure the assessing officer can ask them get your assessment done, file the taxes properly, and then only you can dissolve it. So they can be check hold off. They can be check hold off when you are formed for a particular event or a particular purpose or for a particular period. Then there is person likely to transfer the property to avoid tax. Now suppose करो एक person है, ठीक है, Mr. X, who is a defaulter, who has a tendency to make a default. He is an NPA, etc., etc. And now you know that he's selling off his property, or he's selling off his land so that he can sell that land, because otherwise क्या होगा, अगर land X का रहेगा, the property can be attached. Attached मतलब the income tax authorities can use that property to recover the taxes. But now this Mr. X is very smart. What he's doing is he's selling that land so that he can get that money, और फिर money कहाँ गया किसको क्या पता, right? So when the assessing officer has a knowledge of such transaction which is bound to happen, they can immediately start the proceedings and they can immediately recover the tax, whatever is due till the previous year from that person. Till the previous year, from that till date, particularly whatever tax is due, they can immediately recover it, saying that we know that you're likely transferring this property to avoid the tax payment. And last, discontinued business. Whenever any business is about to get discontinued or discontinued, then the previous year में the assessing officer अपनी मर्जी से, जरूरी नहीं है for all discontinued business, but if the assessing officer think that if the business gets discontinued and it would be very difficult to recover the taxes, then they can start the proceedings and ask you to pay the taxes in the previous itself for the previous year. Okay, so these are the 5 scenarios. What are shipping companies or non-resident shipping companies, person leaving India, AOP, artificial juridical parties, or juridical person formed for particular event, person who's likely to transfer his property, or any discontinued business. In these cases, the previous year itself may they can pay you ask you to assess the income and pay the taxes in the previous itself and close the matter. Okay, and I think by understanding the heading, you will understand that yes, it makes sense, because assessment year आने का कौन wait करेगा? Who will wait for the assessment year to come and then for them to diligently file the taxes, because no one knows where these people would be, correct? So that's why assessing officer can push off and ask you for all these things. Sorted? Any doubt? So I'll not start another topic, which is undisclosed sources of income and tax rates. बस ये बच गया, but tax rates, guys, is very, 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 very important, because we'll be covering marginal relief, we'll be covering 115 BAC के सारे tax computation. Obviously, there is another chapter which is your assessment of income tax. But यहाँ पे हम एक एक खुद solve करेंगे. So please bring the calculators, because इसके बाद you will not get the chance to do all these things. And we will be covering. I'll not go deep into the capital gain calculation, but we'll be covering marginal relief, we'll be covering surcharge, and old regime इसमें है या normal में, वो मैं एक बार चेक कर लूंगी. Then हाँ, normal provisions भी है ना, cooperative societies, companies के basic provisions, all of that would be covered here. So do not worry. Rebate, yes, we will cover up. And some questions which are there in your study material which requires your attention, we'll pick it up that. So this is all from my side, because if I start another topic, it might take another 15-20 minutes. So let's wrap it up for today. Anyone has any doubts? All good to go? So today's class, I hope students you got a knowledge of understanding income tax, of having that warmth and familiarity with income tax. I know most of you might not agree with me कि मैम ये तो पेपर में आएगा. Trust me, these small things will make you stand out. This was a small practice of us. Next Friday when this Friday when we'll be meeting, we'll be doing the tax rate one thing, which will obviously be very important. Bring your calculators dedicatedly, and then we have PGBP coming up. All very exciting topics coming up. And now take a break, have something, and just give a read to your study material up till page number. Till page number 36. And trust me, everything would be pretty easy to understand. Just give a read. वहाँ पे income का definition होगा, वो just give a heading for understanding. अलावा उसके अलावा there is nothing. And you're good to go. ठीक है? So sorted. Wish you all the luck. See you all pretty soon. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Bye. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night.